The sun was sinking behind the tall, glassy buildings of the city, casting long shadows over the crowded streets. The winter air was cold and sharp, cutting through the thin jackets of the street vendors struggling to sell their wares before darkness fell. Mr. Raymond, a wealthy businessman known for his sharp suits and colder heart, found himself stranded in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. His sleek black luxury car had broken down just a few blocks away, and his phone had no signal. Frustrated and out of place, he pulled his expensive coat tighter around his broad shoulders, his polished shoes clicking against the cracked, icy pavement. As he walked, his eyes scanned the small, crumbling shops and makeshift stalls lining the narrow street. The people around him, their faces worn and tired, paid him little attention, too focused on their own struggles to notice the wealthy stranger in their midst. Suddenly, Raymond's eyes caught on a small figure huddled beside a rusted, battered cart piled high with handmade trinkets and worn-out toys. It was a young boy, no older than 10, his thin frame wrapped in a patched, oversized jacket, his small, dirt-streaked hands shivering as he arranged his mother's humble goods on the rough wooden cart. The boy, Sam, glanced up as Raymond passed, his wide, innocent eyes meeting the businessman's cold, calculating gaze for a brief, silent moment. Raymond felt a strange, unfamiliar sensation twist in his chest, a small, flickering warmth that quickly faded as he looked away, his polished shoes clicking loudly on the icy ground. Just as Raymond stepped past the boy's cart, his polished shoe struck a small, loose piece of metal, sending it clattering to the ground. He paused, glancing down at the small, rusted object as it spun on the cracked pavement, its sharp edges glinting in the weak, dying sunlight. With a sigh, Raymond bent down to pick it up, his gloved fingers brushing against the cold, rough concrete. But before he could straighten, he heard the harsh, mocking laughter of a group of rough-looking teenagers approaching from the far end of the street. Raymond's sharp eyes flicked up, his heart tightening as he saw the small gang swaggering toward him, their faces twisted into cruel, taunting grins, their fists clenched, their eyes locked on the wealthy stranger in their midst. Before Raymond could react, a small, thin figure stepped in front of him, blocking his path, arms spread wide, head held high despite the trembling in his thin, bony shoulders. It was the boy, Sam, his wide, frightened eyes blazing with a fierce, desperate courage. "Don't be scared," Sam whispered, his small voice steady despite the fear tightening his throat. You look just like my dad. I'll save you." Raymond froze, his heart skipping a beat, his sharp, calculating mind struggling to process the boy's words. Why would a poor street kid risk himself for a stranger? And why did he think Raymond looked like his father? The gang of teenagers, clearly caught off guard by the small boy's sudden bravery, paused, their mocking grins fading into uncertain frowns. One of them, a tall, scruffy-looking boy with a ragged, scarred face, took a step back, his small, dark eyes darting nervously between Sam and the still, silent businessman behind him. For a long, tense moment, the narrow street was filled with the distant sounds of honking cars and the soft rustling of cold winter wind against the rusted metal carts and crumbling brick walls. Then, with a sharp, angry curse, the leader of the gang turned on his heel, shoving his stunned, wide-eyed companions aside as he stomped back down the narrow, icy alley, his heavy, scuffed boots clapping loudly against the cracked pavement. One by one, the other gang members followed, their shoulders hunched, their eyes downcast, their cruel, mocking laughter replaced by the soft, nervous whispers of boys who had just been reminded of their own smallness, their own weakness in the face of unexpected courage. Sam watched them go, his small, shivering body tense, his thin, dirty fingers curled tightly into fists at his sides. Only when the last of the gang's twisted, shadowed figures disappeared around the far corner did he lower his small, bony arms, his thin shoulders sagging with a deep, shaky breath. Raymond remained frozen behind him, his sharp, dark eyes locked on the boy's thin, trembling frame, his mind still struggling to process what had just happened. Slowly, Sam turned back to face the stunned, silent businessman, his wide, innocent eyes filled with a strange, unspoken sadness. Are you okay, sir?" he whispered, his small, dirty face tilted up to meet Raymond's cold, shadowed gaze. For a brief, flickering moment, Raymond felt the icy walls around his heart crack, the small, flickering warmth in his chest growing stronger, brighter, as he stared down at the brave, frightened boy who had just risked everything to protect a complete stranger. Without a word, Raymond straightened, his sharp, polished shoes clicking loudly against the cracked, icy pavement as he turned and walked away, his broad shoulders stiff, his mind a whirlwind of confusion, disbelief, and something he had long thought lost, a faint, flickering spark of humanity. The cold wind whipped through the dark, narrow streets as Mr. Raymond made his way back to his broken-down car. His polished shoes clicked against the icy pavement, his mind a storm of confusion and curiosity. The boy's words echoed in his mind. "You resemble my dad. Don't be scared, I'll save you." Raymond's sharp, calculating mind couldn't let it go. Why would a street boy, a stranger, risk himself for a man he had never met? And why had he said that strange, haunting line? The memory of the boy's wide, frightened eyes, filled with a fierce, desperate courage, clung to him like a shadow, refusing to be shaken. Finally reaching his car, Raymond leaned against the cold, black metal, his breath misting in the icy air. He pulled out his phone, noticing a faint signal flickering in the corner of the screen. Quickly he dialed his driver, his deep, steady voice cutting through the sharp winter air. "James, get here as quickly as possible," he said, his eyes still locked on the shadowed street where the boy had stood, his small, thin frame trembling but unbroken. "I need a ride." As he waited for his car, Raymond's mind drifted back to the boy, the way he had stepped in front of him, his thin, bony arms spread wide, his small, dirty face filled with a strange, unspoken sadness. The image felt strangely familiar, like a half-forgotten dream, tugging at the dark, shadowed corners of his memory. Finally, the sound of an approaching engine pulled Raymond from his thoughts. His sleek black limousine pulled up to the curb, its polished metal reflecting the flickering streetlights. The door swung open, and James, his loyal driver, stepped out, his dark-lined face tight with concern. "Are you all right, sir?" James asked, his sharp, dark eyes scanning Raymond's pale, shadowed face. "You look shaken." Raymond forced a small, tight smile, his sharp jaw clenching, his cold, dark eyes hardening once more. "I'm fine," he said shortly, stepping to the warm, leather interior of the limousine, the door closing softly behind him with a quiet, satisfying click. As the car pulled away, slipping smoothly through the crowded, icy streets, Raymond leaned back against the cool, polished leather, his sharp, dark eyes staring blankly out the tinted window. The city lights flickered past, their harsh neon glow cutting through the thick, swirling darkness, casting sharp, twisting shadows over Raymond's cold, hard features. But in his mind, he saw only the small, shivering figure of the boy, his wide, innocent eyes blazing with a fierce, desperate courage, his small, dirty hands clenched into fists at his sides. As the car approached his sprawling, glass-walled mansion, on the edge of the city, Raymond's mind continued to swirl with questions, doubts, and memories he had long thought forgotten. Later that night, as he sat alone in his grand, empty dining room, the soft, flickering light of the crystal chandelier, casting long, twisting shadows over the polished marble floor, Raymond found himself reaching for a small, leather-bound journal hidden in the bottom drawer of his heavy mahogany desk. His long, thin fingers brushed against the worn, cracked leather, his sharp, dark eyes narrowing as he pulled the small, battered notebook from its hiding place. Slowly, carefully, he flipped through the yellowed pages, his eyes scanning the small, neat handwriting, the faint, fading ink whispering of a life he had once known, a life he had abandoned for wealth, power, and success. Finally, his eyes settled on a small, faded photograph tucked between the pages, a photo of a young woman with wide, dark eyes and a warm, gentle smile, her long, flowing hair falling in soft, curling waves around her small, delicate face. Raymond's heart tightened, his sharp, dark eyes flickering with a strange, unspoken motion. "You resemble my dad. Don't be scared, I'll save you." The boy's words echoed in his mind, the strange, haunting line cutting through the thick, heavy silence of the grand, empty room, filling his chest with a strange, unfamiliar warmth. For the first time in years, Raymond felt his cold, calculating mind falter, the icy walls around his heart cracking, crumbling as he stared down at the small, faded photograph in his trembling hands. Could it be? Could the boy truly be his son? The thought twisted in his mind, a small, flickering spark of doubt and hope burning brightly in the darkness, refusing to be extinguished. As the night deepened, the cold, sharp wind howling against the tall, glassy walls of his mansion, Raymond sat alone, his dark, shadowed eyes staring blankly at the small, battered notebook in his hands, his mind a storm of confusion, regret, and desperate, impossible hope. Raymond sat in his grand, silent study, the warm glow of the fire casting long, twisting shadows across the polished, dark wood walls. His sharp, dark eyes were locked on the small, faded photograph in his trembling hands, the same one he had found in the old journal, hidden in the bottom drawer of his heavy mahogany desk. The young woman in the photo smiled up at him, her wide, dark eyes filled with warmth and love, her long, flowing hair framing her small, delicate face. Raymond's heart tightened as he traced the faint, fading lines of her gentle smile, his sharp, calculating mind struggling to process the strange, impossible truth slowly unfolding before him. The boy, Sam, the small, thin boy who had stepped in front of him, risking his life to protect a complete stranger, had the same wide, dark eyes, the same gentle, fearless spirit. Could it be? Could Sam truly be his son? The thought twisted in his mind, a small, flickering spark of doubt and hope burning brightly in the darkness, refusing to be extinguished. Raymond leaned back in his leather chair, his sharp, dark eyes staring blankly at the crackling flames in the grand marble fireplace. Memories of his past, long buried and forgotten, slowly began to surface, rising from the dark, shadowed corners of his mind like ghosts. It had been nearly 11 years since he had last seen her. Lily, the young woman he had loved, the only person who had ever truly seen past his cold, hardened exterior, the only person who had ever made him feel truly alive. They had met in college, two souls from completely different worlds, their paths crossing in a small, sunlit classroom, filled with the soft, rustling sound of turning pages and the faint, whispered words of young, hopeful students. Raymond had been the rich, ambitious son of a powerful business tycoon, his future carefully mapped out by his controlling, demanding parents. Lily had been the quiet, kind-hearted daughter of a poor, struggling family, her gentle spirit and warm, open heart a stark contrast to the cold, calculating world Raymond had been raised in. For a brief, flickering moment, their worlds had collided, their hearts entwining in a whirlwind of stolen kisses, whispered promises, and shared dreams of a brighter, happier future. But then, as quickly as it had begun, their love had been torn apart, shattered by the harsh, unyielding demands of Raymond's powerful, unforgiving family. His father, a cold, ruthless businessman with a heart as hard and sharp as the polished, glassy skyscrapers he owned, had discovered their secret love, his fury shaking the very foundations of their sprawling, marble-walled mansion. "She's not one of us," his father had hissed, his sharp, dark eyes blazing with cold, unrelenting rage. "She has no place in our world. End this foolishness, or I will end it for you." And in the end, Raymond had given in, his young, frightened heart breaking as he walked away from the only woman he had ever truly loved, his sharp, polished shoes clicking loudly against the cold, hard marble floors as he left her behind, his father's cold, shadowed gaze burning into his back. For years he had tried to forget her, to bury the memories of her warm, gentle smile, her soft, whispered words, her small, delicate hands wrapped tightly around his own. But now, as he stared down at the small, faded photograph in his trembling hands, Raymond realized that he had never truly let her go. that the small, flickering spark of hope and love she had ignited in his heart had never truly been extinguished. But what if Sam was her son? What if he was his son? The thought sent a sharp, icy jolt of fear and hope through his chest, his heart racing, his mind spinning as he leaned forward, his sharp, dark eyes narrowing in determination. He had to know. He had to find out the truth, no matter the cost. Quickly, he reached for his phone, his long, thin fingers trembling as he dialed the number of his private investigator, a sharp, cunning man known for his ability to dig up even the darkest, most well-hidden secrets. "Find her," Raymond whispered, his deep, steady voice cutting through the crackling silence of the grand, shadowed room. "Find Lily. Find the boy." The line crackled softly, the faint, distant sounds of rustling papers and clicking keyboards filling the silence. "I don't care how much it costs, or how long it takes," Raymond continued, his sharp, dark eyes blazing with a fierce, desperate determination. "Just find them. Find out the truth." As he ended the call, Raymond leaned back in his chair, his heart racing, his mind swirling with 1,000 unanswered questions. His sharp, dark eyes locked on the small, faded photograph in his trembling hands. The truth was out there, somewhere, in the dark, shadowed corners of his past, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to shatter the carefully constructed walls of his cold, hardened heart. And Raymond, for the first time in years, felt truly alive, his heart burning with a fierce, unbreakable fire, a desperate, impossible hope. The next morning, Raymond woke earlier than usual. The light breaking through the glass walls of his mansion didn't feel warm. It felt sharp, as if the truth itself was waiting outside, ready to confront him. He hadn't slept much. The photograph, the boy's voice, and the memories of Lily wouldn't let him rest. He kept hearing those words on repeat. "You resemble my dad. Don't be scared, I'll save you." By noon, his private investigator called. The voice on the other end was calm and professional, but the information he delivered was anything but ordinary. "Her name is Lily Carter. She lives in a small, rented apartment in Westbrook, works part-time at a local diner and sells handmade items with her son. The boy's name is Sam. Same age your son would have been if you had one." Raymond's breath caught. He didn't reply for a few seconds. "Send me the address," he finally said. "I'll go myself." 2 hours later, Raymond stood outside a narrow, weather-worn apartment building, tucked behind rows of tiny shops and broken fences. It was far from the marble and glass he was used to. The bricks were cracked, the windows were foggy, and the stairwell smelled of damp cement and old paper. But something inside him felt drawn here, something deeper than curiosity. He climbed the stairs slowly. At the end of the corridor, apartment 3B, he raised his hand to knock but hesitated. What would he say? "Hello, I might be your son's father?" Before he could gather his thoughts, the door opened. There she was, Lily. Time had changed her, but only slightly. Her face was a little thinner, her hair tied back in a loose bun, and her eyes, though tired, still had that same warmth. She froze when she saw him. "Raymond." Her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. He took a step back, stunned she recognized him instantly. "Lily." For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The years they had lost stood like a wall between them. Then her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice steady now but guarded. "I saw the boy," he said quietly. "He helped me yesterday. He stood in front of me when I was in danger. He said something strange. He said I look like his father." Her eyes widened, but she didn't speak. Raymond continued, trying to hold her gaze. "Is he mine?" She looked down, then turned and walked back inside. "You should come in." The apartment was small but clean. A few handmade crafts hung. On the wall and on a low shelf were children's books, a toy truck, and a tiny drawing. A stick figure family with 3 people. 1 man, 1 woman, 1 child. Raymond sat on the couch, his hands trembling slightly. Lily placed a cup of tea in front of him but didn't sit. "I didn't know how to reach you," she said quietly. After you left, after your father threatened me, I disappeared. I didn't want Sam growing up knowing he wasn't wanted. Raymond looked up sharply. I didn't know you were pregnant. Lily nodded slowly. You didn't. I found out weeks after you were gone. I tried to contact you, but your family, they made sure I couldn't. I had no money, no support. But I kept the child. I raised him as best as I could. And you never told him about me? Lily sighed. I told him his father was gone. But he always asked. He always wondered. I never showed him your photo. I never said your name. I didn't want him to carry that pain. Raymond's chest tightened. The silence in the room grew heavier. He's brave, Raymond said. He stood up to a gang for me, a stranger, and when he looked at me, something in me broke or maybe something healed. I don't know, but he saw something in me. Lily finally sat across from him, her voice softer now. He doesn't know. You're here. He's at school. I didn't expect this. Raymond nodded. I want to meet him, not just on the street. I want to know him. Raymond, she said gently, you can't just walk in after all these years and expect to fix everything. I don't want to fix everything in a day, he replied. But I want to start. I've spent years building a world of money and silence. But yesterday a small boy shattered it in seconds. I can't walk away from that. Lily studied him carefully. He's kind, he's strong, and he's everything good I could give him. If you want to be in his life, you need to prove that you deserve it. Raymond didn't hesitate. I will. The next morning felt different. Raymond stood in front of the mirror, tying his tie for the third time. His hands trembled, a rare sight for someone so used to control. But today was not about business meetings or boardrooms. Today, he was going to face something much more personal, something he had lost without knowing, his son. Downstairs, his driver waited as usual, but Raymond told him to stay. He wanted to walk, to feel the weight of the world around him and gather his thoughts before facing Sam again. As he approached the modest apartment building in Westbrook, his chest tightened. It had been years since he'd felt this nervous. He knocked on the door, and this time, it wasn't Lily who opened it. It was Sam. The boy blinked up at him with those same wide eyes, eyes that had unknowingly reached straight into Raymond's past. His small hand gripped the doorframe, his backpack slung loosely over one shoulder. Hey, I know you, Sam said with a surprised smile. You're the man from the street. Are you okay? Did those guys come back? Raymond smiled gently, kneeling to his level. No, they didn't. You were very brave that day. Sam looked away shyly. My mom says I shouldn't talk to strangers. That's a good rule, Raymond replied. But what if I'm not a stranger anymore? Sam frowned a little, curious. What do you mean? Before Raymond could speak, Lily appeared behind her son, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. Sam, sweetie, she said softly. Can you come sit with me for a minute? There's something important we want to talk to you about. The three of them sat down around the small dining table. Raymond noticed Sam's drawings taped to the wall, stars, rockets, and one small sketch of a man holding a boy's hand. It struck him deeper than he expected. Lily took a deep breath and began. Sam, do you remember how you always asked me about your dad? Sam nodded slowly. You always said he was gone, but that he was a good person. She smiled, her voice warm but steady. I told you that to protect you, but now it's time you knew the truth. Raymond leaned forward, his voice low and careful. Sam, I didn't know about you. Not until recently. But when I met you, something inside, he told me that we were connected, and now I know it's true. I'm your father. The room fell silent. Sam stared at Raymond, his young face frozen in confusion. You're my dad? Raymond nodded. Yes. And I'm sorry, Sam. I didn't mean to leave. I didn't even know you existed. But now that I do, I want to be here, if you'll let me. Sam looked at his mother, searching her eyes for the truth. Lily gave a small nod, tears glistening in her eyes. He turned back to Raymond. Why didn't you come before? Raymond's voice cracked for the first time in years. Because I didn't know. My world was very different from your mother's, and back then I made the wrong choice. I let people control me. I was scared, but I regret it every single day. Sam looked down at the table. You don't seem scary, you seem sad. Raymond's heart clenched. Maybe I am. But meeting you, seeing how brave and kind you are, that changed something. In me, I want to be part of your life. I want to be someone you can trust. There was another long pause. Then Sam asked quietly, Do you like rockets? Raymond blinked. Rockets? Yeah, Sam said, finally smiling a little. Because I've been building one from old parts with my mom. It doesn't fly yet, but it will. Raymond smiled back. Then I'd love to help. Sam leaned in slightly. And you're not going to leave? Raymond shook his head firmly. Not this time. Not ever again. Sam seemed to think for a moment. Then, without warning, he got up, walked around the table, and wrapped his arms around Raymond's waist. Raymond froze, overwhelmed. Slowly, carefully, he wrapped his arms around his son. The boy he never knew he had. The boy who had unknowingly saved him. In that moment, the years of cold silence in Raymond's life melted. No money, no mansion, no deal ever brought him peace like this. And as Lily watched from across the table, tears rolled silently down her cheeks. The boy she had raised with strength and love was finally home, in a way she had never thought possible. Raymond looked at her over Sam's shoulder, and she gave him a small, tired but hopeful smile. The past had been broken, but the future had just begun. For the first time in years, Raymond felt nervous walking into a school. He wasn't here to deliver a speech or fund a scholarship. This time he was here as something far more vulnerable, a father. Just 2 days had passed since Sam had learned the truth, yet it felt like a whole new world had opened up for Raymond. After their emotional conversation, Sam had accepted him with surprising warmth. But Raymond knew acceptance was just the first step. Building trust, earning his place, would take time. And so, when Lily mentioned that Sam's school was hosting a family day, Raymond didn't hesitate. He cleared his calendar, canceled 2 high-level meetings, and bought a simple gray sweater to blend in, leaving behind his expensive suits and polished shoes. At the school entrance, children ran past him with backpacks bouncing, and parents chatted on the sidewalk. Raymond spotted Lily and Sam near the steps, and his heart softened instantly. Sam waved, beaming. Dad, over here. The word Dad still hit Raymond like a wave, both unfamiliar and beautiful. He walked over slowly, and Lily gave him a nod. She had been quiet since their last conversation, but she hadn't closed the door. She was watching, carefully, as he took his first steps into their world. Ready for your first school event? Lily asked with a light smile. Raymond chuckled. Do I need to pass a test? No, she said. Just don't act like a CEO. He smiled, a little embarrassed. I'll try. Inside, the classroom buzzed with activity. Kids painted, built, with blocks and read stories aloud. Parents joined in, sitting cross-legged on the floor or helping with crafts. Raymond looked around, stiff and unsure. It was a far cry from conference rooms and corporate dinners. Sam tugged his hand. Can you help me finish my rocket drawing? Absolutely, Raymond said, kneeling beside him. The two bent over a piece of paper filled with stars, planets, and a half-finished rocket ship. Sam handed him a crayon. Blue. Rockets need strong engines, Sam explained seriously. That's the part we're working on today. Raymond nodded. Well, I think we should add extra boosters. Sam grinned. Good idea, Dad. They worked quietly for a few minutes. And for once, Raymond wasn't thinking about time or schedules. He was present, in the moment, watching his son scribble planets and talk about space like it was the most important thing in the world. Later, during snack time, Raymond stepped outside for air. He leaned against the railing, watching children laugh and play, wondering how many moments like this he had already missed. Lily joined him, arms folded, watching Sam from a distance. He really Likes you, she said. I wasn't sure he would, Raymond replied quietly. I didn't expect forgiveness to come so easily. Lily shook her head. It didn't come easy. You just didn't see the years I spent wiping his tears when he asked where his dad was. Raymond looked down. I can't change what happened, but I want to be part of what's next, if you'll let me. Lily glanced at him. I don't want promises. I want consistency. I understand, he said. I don't want to be a weekend visitor. I want to learn how to be his father, from the ground up. She was quiet for a moment, then said, then start small. Be there. Show up. Let him see you mean it. Raymond nodded. I will. That night, Raymond sat at his desk, the same one that had once felt like a prison. He opened his calendar and deleted 3 upcoming events. Then he blocked out one. Full day every week labeled simply Sam time. For the first time, his life wasn't about power or control. It was about connection, something he'd spent years avoiding. He picked up the drawing Sam had given him earlier. The rocket was finished now, surrounded by stars. In the corner, Sam had written, Me and Dad, flying together. Raymond held it tightly, emotions swelling in his chest. He wasn't perfect. He never would be. But maybe, just maybe, he could be enough. The foundation of a new life had been laid, not with concrete and steel, but with crayons, courage, and the heart of a little boy who had no reason to believe, but did anyway. Weeks passed, and what began as quiet, careful steps slowly grew into something stronger, something real. Raymond, once a man defined by his solitude and wealth, now found himself waking up early not for meetings, but for school lunches. He learned how to braid string for science projects, how to fold paper rockets, and how to lose gracefully at board games. For the first time in his life, he was learning not how to lead, but how to love. And Sam? Sam flourished. His quiet confidence turned into full laughter. His drawings grew brighter, and he stopped asking his mother about the father who had once been just a shadow. Because now that shadow had become a presence, someone who showed up, not just in person, but in heart. One Saturday morning, they visited the City Museum. Sam ran ahead, tugging Raymond through the space exhibit with boundless excitement. Look, he shouted, pointing to a real astronaut suit behind the glass. Just like the one in our drawing, Raymond chuckled. It's even better in real life, huh? Yeah, Sam replied, eyes wide. You think we could build something like that? Raymond knelt beside him. Maybe not today, but if we try together, who knows what we can build? Sam grinned. That's what I mean, together. The word stayed with Raymond all day. Together. He had spent his life building empires alone, only to discover too late that what he truly needed was someone to build with. That evening, back at Lily's apartment, the 3 of them sat around the small dinner table. There was laughter, soft music from the radio, and the smell of fresh-cooked pasta. Lily watched as Sam told a wild story about a school prank gone wrong. Raymond laughed harder than he had in years. And when Sam leaned against him, full from dinner and tired from the day, Raymond wrapped his arm around the boy like it was the most natural thing in the world. After Sam went to bed, Lily poured tea. For them both. You've changed, she said quietly. Raymond looked at her surprised. You're not the man who left years ago, she continued. You're slower now. Softer. Real. Raymond stared into his cup. He changed me. Sam, he saved me that day, not just from those guys on the street. He saved me from myself. Lily nodded, her eyes full of unspoken understanding. I never wanted him to grow up wondering if he was unwanted. But I also didn't want him to grow up chasing someone who'd never come. I'm not running anymore, Raymond said. I've built too many walls in my life. It's time I build something else. Lily studied him. And what do you want to build? He smiled gently. A life, a family, a future. She looked down for a long moment, then finally said, Then don't just say it. Show him. Every day. And he did. The next few months brought a quiet transformation. Raymond rented a small home closer to Lily and Sam. leaving behind the cold echo of his mansion. He kept his business running, but no longer let it run him. He became the kind of father who picked Sam up from school, who sat in the front row during class plays, who burned pancakes on Sunday mornings and laughed about it. And with each small moment, a bond grew stronger, no longer born of coincidence but of choice. One evening, as they sat watching the stars from the front porch, Sam spoke quietly. "Dad, yeah? Do you think, if things had been different, we would have met sooner?" Raymond looked at him for a long moment. "I think the world brings people together exactly when they need each other most," he said softly. "And I think I needed you more than I ever realized." Sam leaned his head on Raymond's arm. "Me too." There was no grand ending, no fireworks, just quiet, peace. The kind Raymond had searched for his entire life, and finally found in the laughter of a little boy, the forgiveness of a strong woman, and the unexpected miracle of a second chance. And in that silence, one thing became clear. Sometimes the most powerful stories don't begin with power or riches. They begin with a simple act of love and a promise kept.